My phone buzzed at exactly 7:23 p.m., right when I was wondering if the leftover pizza in my fridge had evolved into a new life form. The message from Emily was typical: short, efficient, emotionally vacant. At dinner meeting with clients, running late, don't wait up. I stared at the screen in my cluttered graphic design studio above Murphy's pawn shop on River Street. The neon sign outside cast everything in sickly pink light, making my computer monitors look like they belonged in a morgue. I'd been working on a logo for Henderson's Auto Repair for 3 hours, and my back felt like someone had used it for batting practice. "Does the client appreciate my cooking?" I typed back, knowing she wouldn't find it funny. Emily never found anything funny anymore. That's when my phone started going crazy. Tyler's name flashed on the screen. My best friend, who bartended at Riverside Grill, the fancy place downtown where Emily supposedly conducted all her important client meetings. The first photo made my stomach drop through the floor. Emily, laughing. Really laughing, the way she used to laugh with me 5 years ago when we got married. Her hand was on some guy's arm, a tall, well-dressed man with perfect hair and a watch that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The second photo showed them leaning closer together, her fingers playing with his tie. The third photo, well, let's just say no legitimate business meeting involves that much tongue. My hands started shaking as Tyler kept sending them. Photo after photo of my wife of 5 years playing tonsil hockey with Mr. Perfect Hair in the corner booth at Riverside Grill, the same booth where we'd celebrated our second anniversary. "Jake, man, I'm sorry," Tyler's text read. "Been going on for weeks. Thought you should know." I set my phone down and stared at the Henderson's Auto logo on my screen. A simple, honest design for a simple, honest business. Bill Henderson had been my first client when I started my freelance design company 3 years ago. He paid on time, said please and thank you, and never once lied to my face about working late. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Emily calling. "Hey, honey," she said, and I could hear restaurant noise in the background. "Just wanted to let you know I'll probably be here another hour or two. This client is really demanding, you know how it is." "Oh, I know exactly how it is," I said, scrolling through Tyler's photos. "What kind of business are you discussing?" "Marketing strategy for his real estate development company. Very complex stuff. You wouldn't find it interesting. Try me. What's his name?" A pause. "Victor Steele. He's developing that new luxury complex by the river." Victor Steele. Even his name sounded like something from a soap opera. I Googled him while Emily kept talking about zoning permits and target demographics. 38 years old, divorced, owned half the commercial real estate in town. His LinkedIn photo showed the same smug smile I'd seen in Tyler's pictures. "Jake, are you listening?" Every word. "So this Victor guy, he's hands-on with his marketing?" "Very hands-on. He likes to be involved in every aspect of the campaign." "I'll bet he does." "Well, don't work too hard," I said. "Wouldn't want you to strain anything." After I hung up, I sat in my chair for a long time, watching the neon light flicker outside my window. 28 years old, and my wife was cheating on me with some rich developer who probably used $100 bills as napkins. The rational part of my brain said I should confront her directly, maybe suggest marriage counseling, try to work things out like mature adults. But the rational part of my brain had apparently clocked out for the day, because what I actually did was open up Photoshop and get to work. By midnight, I had created a beautiful collage of Tyler's photos, arranged chronologically with timestamps and location data. I added a professional-looking border and a title in elegant script: Emily's Client Meeting, a Visual Report. At the bottom, I included a small logo I designed on the spot: Steele & Associates, servicing your needs. I printed 50 copies on my best photo paper. The first copy went to Emily's parents, along with a note: "Thought you'd like to see how Emily's career is progressing. She's really learned to wine and dine the clients." The second copy went to Emily's boss, Lana Morrison, at Morrison Marketing Group. The note read, "For your employee evaluation files, Emily shows real dedication to client satisfaction." The third went to our Homeowners Association president, Mrs. Chen, who lived for neighborhood gossip. No note necessary. I hand-delivered all 50 copies between midnight and 3 a.m., driving through the empty streets of our fading river town like some kind of demented Santa Claus. Emily's car wasn't in our driveway when I got home, which saved me the trouble of changing the locks immediately. Instead, I waited until 4 a.m., then called Peterson's 24-hour locksmith service. "Emergency lockout," I told them. "My wife lost her keys again." By sunrise, Emily's key wouldn't work in our front door. I left a note taped to the glass. "Your client meeting has been terminated. Please collect your personal effects during business hours. Management reserves the right to refuse service." Then I loaded up my pickup truck with Emily's most prized possessions: her collection of designer handbags, her expensive skincare products, her framed marketing awards, and drove them over to her parents' house. I arranged everything neatly on their front lawn with a hand-lettered sign, "Free to good home, slightly used." It was going to be a beautiful day. My phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. Emily, of course, but I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. By the time I finished my coffee, I had 12 missed calls and a voicemail box full of progressively hysterical messages. "Jake, what the hell is wrong with you? Why won't my key work? Jake, please call me back. We need to talk about this like adults. Jake, my mother just called crying. How could you humiliate me like this? Jake, I'm at a hotel. Call me, please." The last one was different, calmer, scarier. "Jake, I know you're angry, but you've made a huge mistake. I'm going to fix this, and when I do, you're going to be very sorry." I was in the middle of designing a flyer. "Lost. One faithful wife. If found, please keep her," when Tyler showed up at my studio with coffee and donuts from Murphy's Deli downstairs. "You look like hell," he said, settling into the beat-up leather chair I kept for clients. Tyler was built like a linebacker, but moved like a dancer, a combination that served him well both behind the bar and in the boxing ring he ran in the back room of his place. "I feel fantastic," I said, taking the coffee. "For the first time in months, I feel like I'm actually accomplishing something. Jake, man, I know you're hurting, but maybe you went a little overboard with the what? The truth? I just shared some photos with people who care about Emily's well-being." Tyler sighed. "Half the town is talking about it. Mrs. Chen called my bar at 7 this morning asking if I had more details." "Good. Emily always said she wanted to make a name for herself in this town." "This isn't you, Jake. You're not vindictive." I turned to face him. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I was too nice, too understanding, too willing to believe her lies about working late and client meetings and business trips. "So what's the plan? Just keep escalating until what? Until she faces consequences for her actions? Until Mr. Victor Steele realizes that some people's wives aren't community property?" Tyler held up his hands. "I'm on your side here. I'm the one who sent you those photos, remember? I just don't want to see you do something you'll regret. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner." My computer chimed with a new email. Emily's work address. The subject line read, "We need to talk." I opened it and read aloud. "Jake, I understand you're upset, but your behavior is unacceptable and potentially illegal. I've spoken with my attorney, and if you continue this harassment campaign, I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action. I'm willing to discuss our marriage problems like mature adults, but first you need to stop this childish revenge fantasy and let me back into our house. This is your final warning." "She got a lawyer already?" Tyler asked. "Probably Victor's lawyer. I bet he's got several on retainer." I hit reply and typed, "Dear Emily, thank you for your concern about my behavior. I've also consulted with an attorney, specifically the divorce attorney who's been handling my case since yesterday morning. You'll be hearing from him soon. As for the house, I checked the deed. It's in my name only, purchased with my inheritance from Grandpa Murphy before we were married. You're welcome to discuss visitation rights with your attorney. Best of luck with your new business ventures. Jake Murphy, CEO of Murphy Design Solutions. I hit send before Tyler could stop me. Jesus, Jake, you really filed for divorce already? Called Jim Patterson first thing this morning. Turns out having photographic evidence makes the process much simpler. My phone rang. Emily again. This time I answered. You bastard, she said without preamble. You've destroyed everything. I haven't destroyed anything. I've just provided some transparency to your business practices. My boss wants to see me in an hour. My parents won't talk to me. Mrs. Chen organized a prayer circle for my moral recovery. Sounds like a busy day. Better get started. This isn't over, Jake. You think you're so clever, but you have no idea what you're dealing with. Enlighten me. Victor isn't just some random client. He has connections, influence, power. He can make your pathetic little design business disappear with one phone call. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Fix this, or I'll make sure you never work in this town again. She hung up. Tyler was staring at me with a mixture of admiration and horror. You're really going full scorched earth on this, aren't you? Emily made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. And what about you? What happens when the dust settles and you're sitting here alone in this studio, surrounded by the wreckage of your marriage? I looked around my cluttered workspace, the mismatched furniture, the ancient computer equipment, the half-finished projects scattered across every surface. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I'd built it from nothing after getting laid off from the marketing firm where I'd met Emily. Every client, every project, every small success had been earned through honest work and fair dealing. Then I'll still be the last honest client in this relationship, I said. And that's something I can live with. Tyler finished his coffee and stood up. Well, if you're determined to go down swinging, you might as well do it right. What's your next move? I pulled up Victor Steele's website and scrolled through his current projects. Luxury condos, high-end retail spaces, upscale restaurants, all catering to the kind of people who had money to burn and reputations to protect. I'm going to introduce myself to Mr. Steele, I said. Professional courtesy, one businessman to another. That sounds ominous. It's going to be educational. Victor Steele's office occupied the entire top floor of the First National Bank building, the tallest structure in our little river town at a whopping 8 stories. The elevator was one of those old-fashioned ones with an actual operator, an ancient man named Frank, who'd been running people up and down for 40 years. 8th floor Steel Development, Frank announced as we lurched to a stop. Watch your steps, son. The reception area looked like something from a magazine, all glass and chrome and abstract art that probably cost more than my annual income. The receptionist was a blonde woman in her 20s who looked like she'd been ordered from a catalog. I'm here to see Mr. Steele, I said. Jake Murphy from Murphy Design Solutions. She consulted her computer screen with practiced efficiency. I don't see an appointment scheduled. It's regarding his marketing consultation with Emily Murphy. I have some materials he might find interesting. I held up a manila envelope containing enlarged prints of Tyler's photos, along with a few creative additions I'd whipped up that morning. Nothing illegal, just some artistic interpretations of their business relationship. One moment, please. She picked up her phone and spoke in hushed tones. After a brief conversation, she hung up and smiled. Mr. Steele will see you now. Conference room B down the hall to your right. Victor Steele was everything I'd expected, and worse. Tall, perfectly groomed, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my truck. He stood when I entered, extending a manicured hand with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. Mr. Murphy, I presume. I've heard so much about you. All good things, I hope? His smile faltered slightly. Please have a seat. Can I offer you coffee? Water? I'm fine, thanks. I won't take much of your time. I sat down across from him at the polished conference table and opened my envelope. Victor's eyes widened as I spread the photos out like a poker hand. I understand you've been working closely with my wife, I said conversationally. I thought you might like copies for your files. Victor's face went through several color changes before settling on an unhealthy shade of gray. Mr. Murphy, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, I understand perfectly. You're a successful businessman who sees an opportunity and takes it. Emily is an ambitious woman who's willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead. It's a classic win-win scenario. Your wife and I have a strictly professional relationship. I pointed to one of the photos showing Emily with her tongue halfway down his throat. Is this a new networking technique? Because I might need to update my business cards. Victor leaned back in his chair, and I saw his expression shift from panic to calculation. When he spoke again, his voice had a harder edge. What exactly do you want, Murphy? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You chose to pursue a married woman. She chose to betray her wedding vows. Now you both get to deal with the fallout. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you. See, I'm a graphic designer, Mr. Steele. I specialize in visual communication, getting messages across in ways that people remember. And I've got a lot of creative ideas about how to share your story with the community. I pulled out my phone and showed him the website I'd been building since dawn. SteeleandAssociates.com, still under construction, but the photo gallery is coming along nicely. I'm thinking of adding a testimonials section. Victor Steele serviced my needs beyond my wildest expectations. Emily Murphy, satisfied customer. Victor's jaw tightened. You're playing with fire, Murphy. I have lawyers, connections, influence in this town. I can destroy your little design business with one phone call. Maybe. But can you do it before I finish uploading these photos to every social media platform in existence? Before I send copies to the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, your country club? How about your ex-wife? I bet she'd find these fascinating, especially if she's still getting alimony. For the first time since I'd walked in, Victor looked genuinely worried. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to find a new marketing consultant. And I want you to remember that some people in this town still believe in things like honor and fidelity. And if I don't? I gathered up the photos and slid them back into the envelope. Then you'll discover just how creative a desperate graphic designer can be. I stood up and headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Mr. Steele, you might want to check your Yelp reviews. I left you a 5-star rating for customer service. I was halfway to the elevator when I heard him shouting behind me, but I didn't look back. Frank was waiting with the elevator door open, grinning like he'd heard every word. Going down? He asked. All the way to the bottom, I said. The first casualty of war is always the truth, but the second casualty is usually your social circle. By Thursday morning, it was clear that our friend group had chosen sides, and I was outnumbered. I discovered this at Murphy's Deli when I ran into Dave and Linda Harrison, who'd been our couple friends for 3 years. We'd done game nights, barbecues, double dates to the movies. Linda had been Emily's maid of honor at our wedding. Jake? Linda said when she saw me, her voice carrying all the warmth of a January morning. We need to talk. Dave looked uncomfortable, staring at his coffee like it contained the secrets of the universe. Linda, however, had clearly prepared for this encounter. What you're doing to Emily is cruel and vindictive, she said, not bothering with pleasantries. She made a mistake, yes, but you're destroying her life. She destroyed her own life, I replied. I'm just documenting the process. She's staying at our house because she's afraid to go to a hotel where people might recognize her. She cries herself to sleep every night. Maybe she should have thought about that before she started playing hide the salami with Victor Steele. Linda's face flushed red. You're not the man I thought you were, Jake Murphy. The Jake I knew was kind, forgiving, understanding. The Jake you knew was a doormat. This Jake has a spine. Dave finally looked up from his coffee. Come on, man. We've all been friends for years. Can't you work this out privately? I tried private. Private got me 5 years of working late and client meetings, while my wife screwed half the real estate developers in town. That's not fair, Linda snapped. It was just Victor, and it wasn't even serious. She told me it was just a moment of weakness. A moment that lasted 3 months, according to Tyler's photos. Tyler, Linda said, the name like it tasted bad. That bartender who's been filling your head with poison, he's the real problem here. Tyler's the only person who had the guts to tell me the truth. Tyler's a troublemaker who runs an illegal boxing ring in the back of his bar. It's not illegal. It's sanctioned by the State Athletic Commission. Whatever. The point is, you're listening to the wrong people, Jake. Emily wants to work things out. She's willing to go to counseling, make changes, do whatever it takes to save your marriage. I laughed, and it came out harsher than I intended. Save our marriage. Linda, she's been having an affair for 3 months. She lied to my face every single day. She used our anniversary dinner as cover for meeting with Victor. What exactly is there to save? Love, Linda said simply. You loved her once. She loves you. If Emily loved me, she wouldn't have been playing footsie with Victor Steele under every tablecloth in town. Dave shifted uncomfortably. Look, Jake, we're not taking sides here, but… Yes, you are. You're letting her stay at your house. You're here trying to convince me to take her back. You've absolutely taken sides. Because we care about both of you, Linda said. We want to see you work through this. Then you should have cared enough to tell me what was happening instead of covering for her. The silence that followed was deafening. Linda and Dave exchanged glances, and I saw the truth in their faces. You knew, I said quietly. You both knew. Linda's composure cracked slightly. We suspected, but you knew my wife was cheating on me, and you said nothing. It wasn't our place, Dave said weakly. Wasn't your place? I thought we were friends. We are friends, Linda insisted. That's why we didn't want to hurt you with rumors and speculation. So you let me keep making a fool of myself instead. Let me keep believing my wife when she said she was working late, when she said she loved me, when she said we had a future together. I stood up, leaving my untouched coffee on the table. You want to know why I'm not handling this privately? Because there's nothing private about it. Half the town knew Emily was cheating on me except me. Tyler's the only one who had the decency to show me the truth. Jake, please, Linda started. Save it. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out of the deli and straight into the arms of Mrs. Chen, who was coming in for her morning coffee. She grabbed my arm with surprising strength for a 70-year-old woman. Jake Murphy, you poor dear, she said, her voice carrying that particular tone of sympathy mixed with gossip hunger that only small-town ladies of a certain age could master. I want you to know that the whole neighborhood is behind you. What that wife of yours did is shameful, absolutely shameful. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. And that man she was carrying on with, Victor Steele, his poor ex-wife went through the same thing 5 years ago. Leopards don't change their spots, you know. This was news to me. His ex-wife? Margaret Steele. She moved to Florida after the divorce, but we still exchange Christmas cards. He cheated on her with 3 different women, including his secretary and his personal trainer. Cost him half his business in the settlement. Interesting. Men like that think they can take whatever they want without consequences. But consequences have a way of catching up, don't they? Yes, ma'am, they certainly do. Mrs. Chen patted my arm. You hold your head high, Jake Murphy. You did nothing wrong. As I walked back to my studio, I thought about Linda's words. She was right about one thing. I wasn't the same man I'd been a week ago. The old Jake would have suffered in silence, maybe gone to counseling, definitely would have tried to work things out like a mature adult. But the old Jake was a sucker. The old Jake believed in things like loyalty and friendship and marriage vows. The old Jake thought that being a good person meant other people would be good to you in return. The new Jake was learning that sometimes being good just makes you an easy target. I spent the rest of the morning working on a new project, a comprehensive website dedicated to documenting infidelity in small-town America. I called it The Honest Truth and made Victor and Emily my first case study. By noon, I had uploaded everything: photos, timelines, witness statements from Tyler, even a detailed analysis of Emily's credit card statements showing her expensive dinners and hotel charges. All perfectly legal information, all presented in a clean, professional format that would make any graphic designer proud. Then I sent the link to everyone in my contact list with a simple message. Thought you might find this interesting. Please share with anyone who values honesty in relationships. Within an hour, my website had crashed from too much traffic. The showdown I'd been expecting finally came on Friday night at Tyler's bar. I was in the back room, working the heavy bag and trying to sweat out a week's worth of anger when Tyler appeared in the doorway. "You've got visitors," he said. "The hostile kind." I unwrapped my hands and followed him to the main bar, where Emily sat at a corner table with Dave, Linda, and two people I didn't recognize, a middle-aged woman in an expensive suit and a younger man with the kind of bland handsomeness that screamed lawyer. Emily looked terrible. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes, and she'd lost weight she couldn't afford to lose. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the photos. "Jake," Emily said as I approached their table. "Please sit down. We need to talk." "I'm comfortable standing." The woman in the suit cleared her throat. "Mr. Murphy, I'm Sandra Walsh, Mrs. Murphy's attorney. This is my associate, Michael Torres. We'd like to discuss your recent activities." "My recent activities are none of your business." "Actually, they are. Your harassment campaign against my client and Mr. Steele constitutes stalking, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We're prepared to file for a restraining order and seek damages." I looked at Tyler, who was polishing glasses behind the bar, but clearly listening to every word. "Did you hear that, Tyler? I'm a stalker now." "Funny," Tyler said without looking up. "I thought stalkers were the ones who snuck around taking secret photos. But what do I know?" Emily's face flushed. "Jake, please, can we just talk? Alone? Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of everyone. We're way past privacy at this point." "Fine." Emily's voice cracked slightly. "I made a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. But I love you, Jake. I've always loved you. Victor was he made me feel important, successful, like I mattered. And I didn't? You did, but not the same way. You knew me too well. You saw all my flaws, my insecurities. With Victor, I could be someone else, someone better. Someone who cheated on her husband." Emily started crying, and Linda immediately moved to comfort her. "You're being cruel, Jake. Can't you see how much she's suffering?" "She's suffering?" I laughed. "She's suffering because she got caught, not because she did anything wrong. If Tyler hadn't sent me those photos, she'd still be playing house with Victor and lying to my face every night." Dave leaned forward. "Look, man, we all make mistakes. The question is whether you love Emily enough to forgive her." I did love Emily. I loved her enough to work 60-hour weeks to pay for this house she wanted. I loved her enough to support her career even when it meant eating dinner alone most nights. I loved her enough to believe her lies about working late and client meetings and business trips. "You still love her," Linda insisted. "I can see it in your eyes." "What you see in my eyes is the end of that love. Emily ruined it when she decided Victor Steele was more important than our marriage." The lawyer, Michael Torres, finally spoke up. "Mr. Murphy, regardless of your feelings about your wife's behavior, you've crossed several legal lines. The website, the public humiliation, the harassment of Mr. Steele at his office." "I haven't harassed anyone. I've simply made public information more accessible." "You've destroyed my client's reputation and career. Her boss has placed her on administrative leave pending an internal investigation." Her boss should probably investigate her own relationship with Victor while she's at it. Emily's head snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? Ask Lana Morrison how long she's been feeding Victor inside information about city development projects. Ask her why she encouraged your client meetings with him. The silence that followed was electric. Emily stared at me with growing horror as the pieces clicked into place. You think Lana and Victor? I think you weren't Victor's first marketing consultant, and you won't be his last. I think Lana's been using her employees as bait to keep Victor happy and cooperative. I think you were just the latest in a long line of women who thought they were special. Emily's face went white. That's not... She wouldn't... Ask Victor. Ask him about the others. Ask him about his secretary, his personal trainer, his real estate agent. Ask him about Margaret, his ex-wife, who went through exactly what I'm going through now. Sandra Walsh was taking notes. Do you have evidence of these allegations? I have Margaret Steele's phone number. She's very talkative once you get her started. Emily stood up abruptly, swaying slightly. I need some air. She rushed toward the door with Linda close behind. Dave hesitated, then followed them out. That left me alone with the two lawyers. Mr. Murphy, Sandra Walsh said carefully, I think you should know that Mr. Steele has also retained counsel. He's considering filing criminal charges for harassment and stalking. Let him try. Everything I've done is legal. Public records, publicly available information, and my own creative expression. First Amendment territory. Harassment is not protected speech. Neither is adultery, but somehow that didn't stop your client. Michael Torres leaned forward. What would it take to make this go away? What do you want? I want my wife to stop lying. I want Victor Steele to face consequences for his actions. I want people to know the truth about what happened. And then? And then I want to move on with my life. Sandra Walsh closed her notebook. We'll be in touch, Mr. Murphy. I strongly advise you to retain counsel of your own. After they left, Tyler came over with 2 beers. Well, that was fun. Just getting started, I said. You really think this Lana woman is in on it? I know she is. I've been doing some research on Morrison Marketing Group. They've handled the marketing for 6 of Victor's projects in the past 2 years, all of them approved by the City Planning Commission despite significant community opposition. That doesn't happen without inside information. And Emily? Emily was a pawn, a useful, willing pawn, but still just a piece on the board. Tyler was quiet for a moment. You know, there's a part of me that feels sorry for her. There's a part of me that does too. But feeling sorry for someone doesn't mean you have to let them destroy your life. So what's next? I smiled, and I knew it wasn't a nice smile. Now I introduce Victor and Lana to some consequences they weren't expecting. Jake. Don't worry, Tyler. Everything I'm planning is perfectly legal. Immoral as hell, but perfectly legal. That's what I'm afraid of. Outside, I could see Emily sitting in Dave's car, her head in her hands while Linda rubbed her back. For a moment, I remembered the woman I'd fallen in love with. Ambitious, funny, full of dreams about the life we'd build together. But that woman was gone, replaced by someone who could lie to my face for 3 months while screwing another man. Someone who could sit in our kitchen drinking coffee and planning her day around secret meetings with her lover. Someone who could look me in the eye and say, I love you, while her heart belonged to someone else. The Emily I'd loved was gone. The woman sitting in that car was just a stranger wearing her face, and strangers, I was learning, deserved exactly as much loyalty as they showed, which was none at all. Monday morning brought the kind of cold, gray drizzle that made our river town look like a movie set for a Depression-era drama. I was in my studio early, putting the finishing touches on what I privately called Operation Scorched Earth, when my phone rang. Margaret Steele had a voice like whiskey and cigarettes, refined but with an edge that suggested she'd seen some things and lived to tell about it. Mr. Murphy, this is Margaret Steele. I believe you've been asking questions about my ex-husband. Mrs. Steele, thank you for calling me back. I hope I didn't overstep. Honey, you can overstep all you want when it comes to Victor. That man destroyed 5 years of my life, and I'm always happy to help his latest victims understand what they're dealing with. I'm not sure I'm the victim here. Oh, you absolutely are. Victor doesn't just steal wives, Mr. Murphy. He destroys families for sport. It's like a game to him. See how much damage he can do before moving on to the next target. Tell me about Lana Morrison. Margaret's laugh was bitter. Lana's been Victor's inside woman at the city planning office for 3 years. She feeds him information about upcoming development opportunities, helps him navigate the approval process, and provides him with a steady stream of attractive employees to keep him entertained. And the city officials just look the other way? The city officials get their palms greased. Victor's very good at making problems disappear and making the right people rich. Your wife wasn't the first marketing executive to fall for his charm, and she won't be the last. How many others? That I know of? 4, maybe 5. All young, ambitious women who thought they were special. Victor has a type, married, insecure, hungry for success. He makes them feel important while he's using them, then discards them when he gets bored. I was taking notes, my anger building with each revelation. What happened to the others? 2 of them got divorced. One had a nervous breakdown, one moved out of state. They all thought they were the exception, the one who would finally tame Victor Steele and live happily ever after. And Lana Morrison orchestrated all of this? Lana's the puppet master. She identifies the targets, creates opportunities for Victor to meet them, then covers for them while the affairs are happening. In exchange, Victor throws business her way and cuts her in on his development profits. Do you have proof? Honey, I have 5 years' worth of private investigator reports, financial records, and recorded conversations. My divorce attorney was very thorough. This was better than I'd hoped. Would you be willing to share that information? Already on its way to your email address. Consider it a public service. After I hung up, I spent 2 hours reviewing Margaret's files. The scope of Victor and Lana's operation was staggering. Dozens of suspicious city approvals, millions in questionable profits, and a trail of broken marriages and destroyed lives stretching back years. Emily had been just the latest casualty in their ongoing war against decency. By noon, I had compiled everything into a comprehensive report that would make any investigative journalist weep with joy. Financial records, witness statements, photographic evidence, timeline analyses, everything needed to expose the corruption at the heart of our city's development process. I was preparing to send copies to the local newspaper, the State Attorney General's office, and the FBI when Emily walked into my studio. She looked even worse than she had at Tyler's bar. Her clothes were wrinkled, her hair unwashed, her eyes red from crying. She moved like someone who hadn't slept in days. "Jake," she said quietly, "please don't send that report." I looked up from my computer. "What report?" "I know what you're planning. Lana called me this morning. She's terrified." "She should be." Emily sat down in the client chair, her hands shaking as she tried to compose herself. "Jake, if you expose this, you'll destroy more than just Victor and Lana. You'll destroy me too." "You destroyed yourself, Emily. I'm just documenting the process." "I was stupid, okay? I was stupid and naive, and I fell for Victor's lies just like all the others. But I never knew about the corruption, the bribes, the other women. I thought what we had was real." "What you had was real. Real stupid." Emily flinched, as if I'd slapped her. "I deserve that. I deserve all of this. But Jake, please. If this gets out, I'll never work again. My career will be over." "Your career should be over. You participated in a criminal conspiracy." "I didn't know it was criminal. I thought I was just doing marketing work." "Marketing work that involved sleeping with the client?" Emily started crying again, and for a moment I felt the old instinct to comfort her. But that instinct was a relic from my previous life, when I still believed in things like forgiveness and second chances. "What do you want, Emily?" "I want my husband back. I want my life back. I want to fix this. You can't fix this. You can't undo what happened with Victor Steele. You can't unlive the past 3 months. You can't make me forget what you did. So that's it? 5 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it all away? I stood up and walked to the window, looking down at the street where we'd walked together so many times when we were happy, when we were honest, when we were real. I'm not throwing anything away, Emily. You already did that. Jake, please, I'm begging you. Don't send that report. Give me a chance to make this right. I turned back to face her. How? How exactly do you plan to make this right? I'll testify against Victor and Lana. I'll cooperate with any investigation. I'll do whatever it takes to help bring them down. And in exchange, maybe we can find a way to save our marriage. I stared at her for a long moment, seeing not the woman I'd fallen in love with, but a stranger who happened to share her face, a stranger who'd lied to me for months, who'd betrayed our vows, who'd made me a laughingstock in my own town. Emily, I said quietly, our marriage ended the first time you kissed Victor Steele. Everything since then has just been the funeral. That's not true. We can rebuild. We can start over. No, we can't, because I'll never trust you again. Every time you're 5 minutes late, I'll wonder where you really are. Every time you mention a client meeting, I'll wonder who you're really meeting. Every time you say you love me, I'll wonder if you're lying. Emily's face crumpled. So you're really going to destroy everything? Your marriage, my career, our friends, our life here? I'm not destroying anything. I'm just refusing to live a lie anymore. I walked back to my computer and clicked send. The report went out simultaneously to 12 different recipients: journalists, law enforcement agencies, and government oversight offices. It's done, I said. Emily stared at me in horror. You bastard! You self-righteous, vindictive bastard! Maybe, but I'm an honest bastard, which is more than I can say for you. She stood up, her sadness transforming into rage. You think you've won? You think this makes you the hero of the story? I don't think I'm a hero, Emily. I think I'm a man who got tired of being played for a fool. Well, congratulations, Jake. You've successfully destroyed everything we built together. I hope it was worth it. It was. She walked to the door, then turned back one last time. You know what the saddest part is? I really did love you. Not the way I loved Victor, but I loved the safety you represented, the stability, the predictability. That's not love, Emily. That's convenience. Maybe you're right. Maybe I never really loved you at all. She left, and I heard her footsteps echoing in the stairwell as she walked out of my life forever. I sat back down at my computer and opened a new document. Time to update my website with the latest developments. The story wasn't over yet. In fact, it was just beginning. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally telling the truth. Within an hour, my phone started ringing. Reporters, investigators, law enforcement officials. The story was spreading faster than I'd anticipated, growing beyond our small town into something bigger. By evening, Victor Steele was in custody. Lana Morrison had been arrested at her office. Emily was nowhere to be found. I stood on the roof of my building, looking out over the river that gave our town its name. The water was dark and cold, flowing steadily toward some distant ocean I'd never seen. It had been flowing that way for thousands of years, long before any of us were born, and it would keep flowing long after we were all faded and forgotten. The river didn't care about our lies, our betrayals, our broken promises. It just kept moving, carrying away the debris of our lives like it was no more significant than fallen leaves. Maybe that was the secret, to be like the river, to keep moving forward, no matter what tried to drag you down. My phone